Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This is the new poster for Firebase Z, and I want to start things off by asking the simple question, and you're all going to leave a comment down below right now and answer it for me. Is that Richtofen on the left or the right? Leave your answers down below. We'll be talking about it in a second. First, let's talk about the other bits of the image. You've got Samantha in the center, and the lightning, which is striking the dome in the center of the image there, is obviously splitting her face in two. On the one side, it's just normal, happy, well, okay, maybe happy is not the right word, but normal looking Samantha. And then on the other side, her eye is glowing blue, by the way, and she has these strange lines on her face. Now, I've already seen the theories starting up that this means Samantha is evil. They think that because of the fact that her eye is glowing, it means that she's been corrupted by the dark ether, and she is now going to be the arch nemesis, or the evil protagonist, if you will, for this year's Zombies DLC season. And there are a few reasons why that is an attractive thought, right? If you look at the general kind of arc of zombies in the past, it used to be way back in the day that Richtofen, as much as we were working with him, was kind of a bad guy as well, because he ended up trying in Moon to take control of everything and get in control of the zombies. And then time went by and the story got more convoluted and more complex, and that kind of stopped being the case. But how interesting would it be now if, in the birth of this new storyline, instead of seeing Richtofen trying to climb to power and get into control of the zombies and all that sort of stuff, what if Treyarch are basically flipping things on their head and saying, no, this time the one that is going to be trying to get into power and control everything is Samantha, and it's actually going to be Richtofen that has to come in clutch and save the day at the last minute, or rather, maybe Richtofen is kind of unaware of the fact that Samantha is doing all this evil stuff, just like in the past how young Samantha would have been kind of unaware of how evil Richtofen was. But while that theory is enticing, I want to provide an alternative here. Based on what we already know about the map, Samantha is going to have become trapped in some way, shape, or form, and we're going to be basically trying to rescue her in some way for the map's Easter egg. That's how things seem to be shaping up right now. Now, something a lot of people didn't tap into when that got announced is that we've already tried to free Samantha once before in Origins, guys. And if that's not a good precursor to what's happening here in terms of the stakes of this map, and also just the foundation that it has and how nostalgic it's almost going to be being in that position again, but Samantha being an adult now, I'm so excited for it. But that's actually, I got distracted from the point I was trying to make. What I wanted to say is that I think we might be seeing some really smart symbolism, and I know I'm going to sound like your English GCSE teacher here now, but bear with me, some symbolism injected into this image, right? I think we are seeing a divide with the lightning that is flowing from the kind of rift in the sky, I suppose, into that dome, between Requiem and Omega here, the good and the bad, the light and the dark, the Alpha and the Omega. And so on the left-hand side, we have the good guys, the Requiem side, and on the right side, we have the Omega side. And what this split through Samantha is trying to show us, and what they've actually been saying in the game's intel from the very beginning, is that Samantha is finding herself caught between these two factions, but she isn't necessarily completely linked to one or the other unequivocally, and that's that. She trusts Weaver, for instance, don't get me wrong, she is very clear about that, but she isn't a Requiem agent. As much as she may trust Weaver, and as much as Weaver may care for her, they aren't quite on the exact same team. There are some differences in there, and that's important to remember. So we have that side of Samantha that is absolutely allied to Requiem, but we also have these competing forces on the other side of Omega, and that brings us to the part of the conversation regarding the two blokes in this image here. Who are these lads? Well, I would be remiss not to mention the possibility that both of these guys could be Richtofen. Yes, I know that sounds a bit bananas, but there is totally a possibility that either one of them could be Eddie, or both of them in some weird universe that we're living in. That could actually be a thing. I would like to say one thing about that, though. The guy on the right, the direction that his hair is flowing is different to the guy on the left. The guy on the right seems as well to have a fair bit of fairly thick hair on the side of his head. He doesn't have it cut super duper short there. My guy hasn't got a skin fade. Like, I don't like his cut G. It's just a sort of similar length all over, and it's kind of stuck down to his head as well, which might be the sort of thing that you'd expect to see on someone that was kind of aging. Maybe their hairline's receding, or maybe they're just Noah J, and they've got to try and cover up those bald spots. But the direction of the hair is the main thing here. Richtofon's hair goes the other way. It always has. It just grows that way on the man's head. And the character on the left-hand side, his hair appears, at least, it's a little tricky to see, but it at least appears to be growing at a different angle to the guy on the right. So my working theory, based on that alone, is that these are not actually the same people. The face of the right guy does look more Richtofon-y to me, but the hair just sort of excludes him, in my opinion. And the guy on the left, his hair is more like what I'd expect from a Richtofon, but then his face just looks too much like a Chad. Like, he doesn't look like Richtofon to me. And so my thinking is that neither of these guys are Richtofon. I actually think that we might be seeing other people here. And I think that if we are seeing that Requiem versus Omega kind of distinction going on, the guy on the right could be Dr. Peck, who we know works for Omega and who we also know set up this facility. The look that he's giving the camera as well, like, well, I say the camera, the viewer, whatever you want to call it, is kind of like yeah, I'm the bad guy and I'm mad at you because you're good. Like, you know what I mean? He's kind of got that glint in his eyes, you know what I'm saying? But the guy on the left just kind of has this almost sort of noble look to him, like, yeah, I'm righteous. Oorah. Maybe it's Dempsey, dude. That would be crazy. But that's kind of the feeling I'm getting right now anyway. Now, does that make sense in the context of the rest of the story that we're not seeing Eddie just yet, if indeed that's what's going on here? Well, we've known for a little while now that someone with the initial R has been sending Maxis, Samantha Maxis, messages about this site. It's her contact in this area in Vietnam that she's been talking to ever since we got intel way back months ago at this point. Now, does it make sense then for them to bait and switch us and give us an R character that isn't Richtofon? Yeah, I mean, they totally could do that. There's nothing against them doing it. R is just as good a letter as any other one, and obviously the community's going to jump on that and think Richtofon, but there's totally a chance that that's someone else. There's also a chance that those notes were not sent by either of these characters here, and that these people are people that are going to be present within the map itself, but the R character is long gone onto the next map, and then when we free Samantha, maybe she'll get a message from Richtofon who will then say, oh yeah, you need to come over to this area in, I don't know, like Germany, for example. You need to come to Berlin ASAP so that we can move on to the next stage of the plan, or whatever he might say to her. If that was all the case, then that would make Peck a good candidate for the person on the right-hand side here. And the person on the left could be one of the folks that has become trapped in the dark ether, either by Omega or by accident, because both have happened. There have been instances where people have been working with Omega, they've touched one of those portals by accident or on purpose after being ordered to, and gone into the dark ether. And Omega was sending people in there to mine Ethereum, by the way, like I mentioned earlier, but also they've sent people there just as experimentation to see what's going to happen to them. And we know that time passes differently in the dark ether as well. And so just to circle back, if this is Richtofon on the right-hand side, the reason he's old could be because he's spent either more or less time in the dark ether, and we don't know how time works there fully yet, and so that's why he's a different age to Samantha here. It doesn't rule it out just because he's old, just for the record. Anyway, one candidate for that guy on the left could be Piotr. We heard about him a lot during D Machine, and there's absolutely going to be continuation of his story. I am certain of it. Whether that's going to happen now or later, I'm not sure, but he would be a perfectly good candidate for us to be meeting in the map. And it would also make sense with the context of what's happening in the story too, with regards to the Dark Ether as well, for us to go to Firebase Z and then to start coming across these people that have become trapped, and not only to try and free Samantha, but maybe to try and free them too, or potentially he's gonna sacrifice himself or something during the Easter egg so we can free Samantha. All of these things are possible, and I think it's clear that Treyarch aren't afraid of adding in new characters here, and as such, there is absolutely a chance that they do bring some new ones in, but then they use them as emotional leverage in order to make us care more about what is going on in the story with the characters that we already have a connection to, like Samantha. Now, I want to comment quickly on her eye. Do I think that Samantha is evil? No, I don't. Do I think that the marks on her face mean that she has become like a demon? No, I actually think that that's just probably face paint that she's using as camouflage because of the fact that she's in the Vietnam jungle. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything more to read into the face paint there. She was probably trying to hide from Omega and then became a captor of them, and that's why she had the face paint on in the first place. But the eye, I think, is meant to indicate two things. One, we know that Samantha's been absolutely loopy, magical person in the past. So who knows, maybe some of that is still inside her and she's more connected to the dark ether than any of us really know right now. Alternatively, though, it could just be an indication that she has become trapped in the dark ether itself. Like maybe that is where she's actually captive right now, and we're only going to be able to talk to her or see her in the dark ether, just like how in Origins, we were communicating with this Samantha in this otherworldly plane. She was just speaking into our characters' heads, basically, from another dimension. And so maybe that's what this is kind of hinting us towards here. Now, I also want to comment quickly on the fact that the beastly boy Margwa thing in the bottom looks really crazy. It's almost like a cross between a Margwa and a Blightfather. Really interesting design. Looking forward to seeing that in the map and fighting against it. But I also want to comment on the helicopters. Are we going to end up seeing loads of NPCs that are already present in the map itself, and also just by the kind of orangey, bluey color tone here, is the whole facility going to end up on fire? Like, is that a hint towards what's coming, or is that just a kind of hint towards the fact that in the Vietnam War there was lots of napalm or something like that? I also want to just make one last point, and that's in the bottom left, there's a really interesting logo. Is that the logo of the person that designed the poster? Is that something else? It's got that symbol, and then it has 21. 21 could be current year, and so I think that that probably is just the person that designed this. And whoever it was, I just want to say props, because I absolutely adore this poster. 10 out of 10, top marks. Guys, are you excited? Do you think it's Eddie? Have you changed your mind since you left a comment at the start of the video? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Subscribe. Bye for now.